1. A Children's Bible, by Lydia Millett. From one of our finest writers of climate fiction comes a harrowing novel of environmental dystopia, wherein a group of families summering together at a vacation home are stranded by the climate apocalypse. When the storm to end all storms descends on their remote rental, the teenagers conclude that their debauched parents are unfit to care for them and strike out on their own, only to encounter all manner of biblical calamities in the wilderness. In an age when the dispossessed young generation blames the pillaging older generation for their ravaged environmental inheritance, Millett's work has never been more timely. 2. How Much of These Hills is Gold, by C. Pam Zhang. In this glittering debut, Zhang sets the scene in the dying days of the gold rush, where two orphan children of Chinese immigrants roam the ravaged American West in search of a new home, only to meet hostility everywhere they go, not just from the unforgiving landscape, but from the racist and inhospitable locals. As these siblings form their nascent identities under the colossal weight of their loss, they reimagine their own history and their own heritage. This novel is at once a thrilling adventure, a tender coming-of-age story, an excavation of the corrosive myth-making surrounding the American West, and the arrival of a major literary talent. 3. Drifts, by Kate Zambrano. One of our most formally ambitious writers returns with a sublime new fiction about a woman struggling to finish her overdue novel, as she becomes increasingly obsessed with the challenge of writing in the present tense and capturing the slippery nature of time. Her creative blockage leads her to take up lengthy correspondences with her friends, as well as lose herself in the works of the dead greats, whose creative crusades shed light onto her own. Give yourself over to the undulant music of this bold novel, and let yourself be buffeted along restless journey of the narrator's creative awakening. 4. If I Had Your Face, by Frances Cha. In Seoul, South Korea, four young women living in the same apartment complex stumble through a K-pop-soaked cultural miasma of misogyny, consumerism, and unattainable beauty standards. Come for the tender portrait of female friendship in all its tears and triumphs, but stay for the sharp dissection of contemporary life for women, mired as it is in demeaning cultural norms, male primacy, and dwindling economic opportunities. 5. Sansei and Sensibility, by Karen T. Yamashita. In these daring and delightful stories, Yamashita remixes Jane Austen's classic novels with the Japanese-American immigrant experience, as seen through the lives of Sakal families in the 60s and 70s. With Mr. Darcy captaining the football team and public school bake sales replacing Austen's mannered countryside balls, Yamashita questions the wisdom of generations and the meaning of inheritance in these bold stories that transcend race, place, and time. 6. Godshot, by Chelsea Beaker. Religious zealotry meets environmental meltdown in Godshot, Beaker's spectacular novel about a teenager abandoned to a local cult upon her troubled mother's exile from the community. In drought-stricken Peaches, California, a charismatic cult pastor promises to bring rain so long as his brainwashed followers complete the assignments he asks of them. When 14-year-old Lacey learns the truth of this community, built as it is on patriarchal norms and sexual abuse, she skips town on a quest to retrieve her mother. What follows is a gritty, gripping tale of girlhood, spirituality, and how salvation comes from the unlikeliest of places. 7. Exciting Times, by Nais Dolan. In this wry, stylish debut, Dolan sets her sights on Ava, an Irish expat teaching English to the wealthy children of Hong Kong. Ava soon becomes romantically entangled with Julian, a rich banker who can't commit, as well as with Edith, a lawyer who inspires both envy and desire. In this witty satire of the haves and have-nots, Dolan explores tender, insightful truths about the vagaries of modern love. 8. Memorial Drive, by Natasha Trethewey. For Natasha Trethewey, the end is very much the beginning, for both her startling new memoir and, as we learn across its pages, the second iteration of herself. The work opens in the immediate aftermath of her mother's murder committed by Trethewey's former stepfather when the author was just 19 before confronting the years preceding the event, which she admits she'd long treated with willed amnesia buried deep in me like a root. Propelled by the Pulitzer Prize-winning U.S. Poet Laureate's remarkable command of language, it's a story that burrows deep in your emotional center. And often, as the nonlinear retelling dances between years, dreams, and hazy memories, the work enraptures like a thriller, unraveling as it races against the inevitable. Madison Vane. 9. Last Couple Standing, by Matthew Norman. When Jessica and Midge Butler were first married, they were one of 4 best friend couples, aka the core 4 from college who'd all paired up. 15 years later, they're the only set still together. Stuck in a rut but desperate to avoid divorce, Jessica suggests they try an evolved marriage, where one-night stands and random hookups with strangers are pitched as potential ways to light a spark back home. It's an idea that spars with their relationship as much as reality, but Norman's funny and feeling writing makes for an irresistible read. Madison Vane. 10. The Jetsetters, by Amanda Eyre Ward. In Eyre Ward's How to Be Lost, the Same Sky, the Jetsetters, everyone is, to put it mildly, a colossal wreck. Lucky for us, they each all 3 Perkins children, plus their widowed matriarch Charlotte also get a say. Told in alternating chapters, Eyre Ward's genuine, hilarious writing rotates between each character's perspective over the course of a week-long European cruise, producing a story of deep-seated familial discord and desire that falls apart as spectacularly as it wills itself back together. If you're in the market for an escape, look no further. Madison Vane. 11. Golden Gates, Fighting for Housing in America, by Connor Doherty. What could be a dry narrative of the housing crisis is utterly gripping in Doherty's hands, told as it is through the lens of individuals in San Francisco struggling with rising rents, housing scarcity, and poverty. Through zippy prose and deep reporting, Doherty, a former housing reporter for the Wall Street Journal, explains why housing has become unaffordable and how we can solve the problem, that is, if we want to. 12. American Poison, How Racial Hostility Destroyed Our Promise, by Eduardo Porter. In this fascinating book, Porter sees the matrix of race in America. Weaving together social science research and historical context, he dissects how racism infects every stratum of American society, from unions to public education to immigration policy. Porter, a New York Times economics reporter who has covered the intersection of race and economics around the world, is uniquely conversant and globally minded on these issues. 13. Had I Known, by Barbara Ehrenreich. This compendium of Ehrenreich's newspaper and magazine columns spans such diverse topics as cults, health food crazes, housework, welfare programs, and O.J. Simpson. In the age of late capitalism, Ehrenreich's prophetic eye for the brokenness of systems has never been more timely. 15. Notes from an Apocalypse, A Personal Journey to the End of the World and Back, by Mark O'Connell. In this funny, life-affirming book, O'Connell travels the globe in search of a balm to his anxieties about the impending climate apocalypse. He interviews everyone from doomsday preppers to conspiracy theorists, crafting detailed portraits of unique subcultures, each one characterized by different practical and spiritual perspectives on the end of days. With a warm, humorous outlook, O'Connell posits that even if we're going down together. 16. By Joanne McNeill. In this brilliant book, McNeill charts roving personal histories of the Internet, tracing the path from forums and Friendster to today's caustic cesspool. Lurking is far-reaching and ferociously smart, told from the hearts and minds of users rather than the profit and loss statements of tech conglomerates. In centering her research on the user experience of an ever-changing Internet rather than the theatrics and myth-making of big tech, McNeill weaves a people's history of the Internet, making for a humane, big-hearted narrative of how the Internet has changed and how it changed us. 17. Topics of Conversation, by Miranda Popke, out 1/7. Formally adventurous and blisteringly current, this debut novel spanning almost 2 decades of conversations between women wrestles with the stories women tell about desire, friendship, and violence, among other subjects. In glittering prose, Popke illuminates the performative nature of storytelling, assessing the degree to which the stories we tell about our lives are fictions. 18. Boys and Sex, by Peggy Orenstein, out 1/7. In this follow-up to her groundbreaking Girls and Sex, Peggy Orenstein turns her repertorial lens to young men, who, in compassionate, candid interviews, reveal the fears, pressures, and longings that shape their burgeoning sexual identities. Combined with testimony from psychologists and academics, what arises from Orenstein's thorough, sensitive exploration of the subject is a clear-eyed portrait of how toxic masculinity takes root and how we must course-correct in raising our boys before it's too late. 20. Uncanny Valley, by Anna Wiener. In this hyper-detailed, thoroughly engrossing memoir, tech journalist Anna Wiener narrates her coming of age in Silicon Valley during the early years of the startup boom. Yet Uncanny Valley is so much more than a memoir. It's a vivid, unflinching portrait of a changed San Francisco, a one-time haven for artists and dreamers now dangerously enthralled to the capitalist chokehold of tech monoliths. At the intersection of exploitative labor, entitled men, and ungodly amounts of money, Wiener bears witness to the fearsome future as it unfolds. Thank you for watching. Don't forget subscribe to watch more videos.